I walked into the room, I saw him leaning up against the wall, and I was like, it was an immediate, oh, thank God. He
Oh,
not
come
only
on, Lila.
You'd
He was
like,
just hot.
he
you
was
were
hot.
like, yes.
Yeah, let's just be. Come on, he was just
Let's
hot.
be honest. He was
Thank
hot.
God that's my date. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what you
right.
said,
Yeah.
right?
Hi there. Welcome to another episode of I Hate Dating Apps. I am Daniel.
And I am Gina. So today we are going to be talking about a very hopeful subject. Anybody who's on dating apps can identify with this. There's a point at which you come and say, you know what? I'm good with my cat. I'm good with my dog. I think I really would rather just watch Netflix tonight than go out on yet another date, talk for 2 hours with somebody I am not connecting with, and be disappointed all over again, right? So that's the premise under which I fall into most of the time. But the guests that we have today are going to talk about the subject of this episode, which is I was about to ditch the apps when, and then they're going to tell us their stories of how they were able to make this very soul-sucking experience work in their favor. But before we toss it to them, do you have any thoughts about
So
that?
this is actually going to be a hopeful episode then.
It is,
Yeah.
and you met Jenny on Match.
Yeah.
So this is actually all the way
Well,
around.
there is light at the end of the tunnel. However you go about it, it's just life, right? There's success. If you try hard enough on anything. But to your point, like dating app fatigue is a real thing. Just before we just before we started recording, there was this HuffPost article about therapists are now like people are talking about their experiences dating apps with therapists, right? Talking
Well,
about
yeah. I mean,
'cause
it
it's
encompasses
it's a
your
part-time
life.
job. It's like I'm getting matched with people that are not a good match for me. It's like it's a real thing. Like
Yeah.
people are really struggling with this. So it's great to hear some hopeful stories.
Yes.
Happy endings. Yeah.
Positive stuff. So we are bringing in my wonderful longtime friend, Susan, who's joining us from all the way from Sausalito, where she just got power back. Oh my goodness, in this freezing winter weather. And my other friend, Layla, and she's joining from San Diego. So yeah, we got California covered over here,
Yeah.
ladies. Would you please introduce yourselves? Maybe let's start with Layla.
Hi. So I'm Layla. I'm sitting here in San Diego watching it pour down rain yet again, another day.
Oh, darn. Okay.
I've become such a wimp since moving to Southern California, but I'm originally from Oregon,
Uh-huh.
in LA and then San Diego for the last 5 years. Very, very different dating culture, I have to say. Both LA, San Diego they're very different from each other, but super different than the laid back, more liberal, kind of hippie state of Oregon. So have all kinds of experiences there. I work from home. Yet another reason why I have to be on the apps because I'm
Yeah.
not meeting and sitting at my kitchen table on my laptop. I work for as chief of staff for a tech startup remotely, obviously. And yeah, I live here on the beach with my dog. Life is pretty can't complain too much.
What apps are you on?
Hinge, and actually I fall back to Match. It's worked for me in the past.
Ah,
So yeah, and Tinder, every great once in a while.
yeah. I've never done Match, but we have two Match success stories here. So you guys are kind of winning me over. And Susan, you are married now, but you and I know a time when we were bitching about there's no good guys out there and oh my goodness, it's an endless search. And I was so thrilled that you met John and he and you matched on an app, right?
We did. We did. Hello, I'm Susan. I am a longtime friend of Gina's, so this is a heartfelt story for my friend.
Yeah.
I'm retired actually. I have been in healthcare administration for 38 years and just recently have retired. Living here in Sausalito, and like she said, I'm happily heated. There is electricity in our house, so I'm happy about that. I have some experience. I have quite a bit of experience of being on apps, dating apps, sorry, in 3 different major cities. One was San Diego. So Layla, I feel you.
You can relate. Feel the
I
pain.
was, yep,
Compared
I was in
price.
Chicago as well, and then also in San Francisco. 3 different different times of my life. About a 10-year span when I left. Arizona for the beautiful San Diego. I left a marriage with an alcoholic marriage
Mm-hmm.
and thought I'm going to better sights, greener pastures, and prettier sunsets. So thought it was going to be easy. And I get online and I'm going to just find somebody that's going to be adventurous and fun and exciting. And wow, I found a lot of people that meant nothing like that.
Mm-hmm. None of the above.
None of the above. Yeah.
And the sites that I was on, I had to write them down because I was on quite a few. And
Oh.
many of them I was on in 3 different cities. I started out with eHarmony. I did Match. Hinge was brand new at that time, hated it. I was on it for about 2 weeks. And Christian Mingle is one that I was on. And then when I moved to Chicago, I thought, well, I'm going to stay on those. We'll just see.
Uh-huh.
And I added Our Time and Plenty of Fish. So those are all of my my sites that I thought might pluck me or pluck the right fish out of the ocean. And I actually met John on Christian Mingle.
Wow. Boy, Susan, I did not know you were such a prolific app downloader. I think the only ones you missed were like Grinder and OkCupid. Girl,
You know what? I was on OkCupid
There
too.
you go.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
just left that off.
Just curious, why'd you hate Hinge? Because Hinge is one of the most popular ones, right? Like a lot of
No, it
people are on
was-
Hinge.
I actually
Yeah.
don't like Hinge.
Yeah.
I don't remember why I hated it. I think there was something different. Most of these, they matched you with people and you got to kind of look at that. I think what's Hinge now? Maybe they've made a change to it, but do they just
They say that
feed you-
they're the app designed to be deleted.
Deleted. Yeah, so that's the one where like it has like prompts and you don't necessarily do like an about me section, you just fill out the prompts.
Yeah. See, I like the about me thing. I
Yeah.
needed to know.
You need the
Who are
bio
you?
right away. Who are
OkCupid does
you?
that too. OkCupid does a lot of like algorithm matching, like ask you about what kind of music you like, blah blah, and they try to theoretically match you with.
I thought
compatible
eHarmony
people.
did that.
eHarmony does that.
Yeah.
In a
I don't know. I kind of liked
different
eHarmony
level.
when I was on it, for a split second back in 2008. But I haven't given that one a try. But I know that one, like, you have to fill stuff out. You can't just leave it blank, and take the lazy way out. But I am very fascinated and heartened by your stories. I don't know who wants to go first here, but I know Layla's match is fairly new. So, Layla, why don't you start and let us know how you also were like, okay, I guess I'm just going to spend the rest of my life by myself. I mean, you literally hit that point when?
Well, she has a dog too, so
And
she was
yeah,
halfway there
I'm-
already.
Yeah, I'm good with my dog.
So actually, Susan and I have a few commonalities. I left Oregon and a long-term relationship with a heavy, heavy drinker. Also, and it was I met him on Match. I've had 2 really long-term successful matches on Match years ago. I've been divorced for like 15 years, and I didn't really know about other apps. Bumble, but Tinder. Like when I first was getting online, it was such the hookup app that I didn't
Yeah.
really use it. I used Match and Bumble, and then all the other ones. I totally forgot there were so many out there, and I definitely checked them out, but they were so much work. And yeah, like it was enough to have a Match profile and like find the right pictures
I
and
know.
put the right info. So I didn't really know anybody else that was on any other apps. So I did have success. But yeah, when I left Oregon about 5 years ago, I first moved to LA. And kind of a weird circumstance, and I didn't know anybody, and immediately it was told it's really hard to find your friend group. Dating is a nightmare, and it was true. Like, I moved there shortly after I turned 40, and all of a sudden I felt like this massive amount of pressure because, like, and I'm being very general when I talk about Oregon. I'm from Eugene. It's a pretty liberal college town. People are just really laid back. Not a lot of that LA vibe. So when I moved there, being in my early 40s, already intimidated by the scene, all of a sudden finding myself like, I really felt like I had to suddenly keep up, and started doing like the hair extensions and the Botox and chemical peels and just like shoving money, down, essentially down the drain, just
Yeah, like the
trying.
rest of us in LA.
Yeah. And I mean, I worked in this kind of isolating, siloed environment. I was working outside the house then, but I was like, how else do I meet people? And I immediately just started having these one-off, like not great dates. And geography in LA, as you guys know, is such a factor.
Yes.
Not only do you have to like scroll through the gazillions of guys and, do that filter, but you also have to kind of pick a location that's somewhat near you, or you're in your car on the freeway all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a couple not great experiences. In fact, thinking back on it now, I can't remember having really any phenomenal experiences. A lot
Wow.
of
How long were you in LA?
not that long, because COVID happened. I was there probably like a little over 6 months, and then COVID happened.
Oh, I see. Okay, so in
Yeah.
those 6 months, you didn't make any connection whatsoever.
I mean, I went on a lot of first dates. I did date someone for a short amount of time that was okay, but he lived, 90 minutes away, and that was a pain. And it wasn't a strong enough connection to really make that worthwhile. And then COVID happened. I actually met somebody on the apps, and we had been chatting, and he lived out of town and was visiting or working in LA. And we were literally supposed to meet for dinner, and it was the shutdown day. Like he had to get on a plane and get out of there. So we never actually met in person, but we had connected to the point where we like FaceTimed for the first, I don't know, 4 months of COVID. We were like dating by phone. So it was kind of fun, but I really followed all the restrictions for a long time and just stayed home and worked and didn't go out at all. And so that was, it's like, how much can you talk to a total stranger about that you've never met?
But when you were even in Oregon, you didn't. Oh, no. You were in a relationship in Oregon, you said, right?
Yeah, I had been, since my divorce, I've had two successful, like long-term relationships with people that I met on Match.
In Oregon.
Yeah.
Then
in
you moved
Oregon.
to LA, and
LA.
then
And it
you didn't make
changed,
any
yeah.
connection. Then
No.
you went to San Diego, and how long have you been trying to find love in San Diego?
I've been here almost 3 years, and I didn't start off immediately trying, because I had my dog, and everybody that I know in San Diego, I met
As a dog.
walking my dog on the beach. It's great.
Oh,
But mostly women. I have this phenomenal group of girlfriends.
I know, me too.
So great. And I still sometimes I'm like, how have I not ran into some, hot dude with a dog on the beach? I'm out there every day. But I'm in a messy bun in my sweats because it's first thing in the morning, so that might be a factor. But so I've dabbled on and off, and my big thing, and Gina, you touch on this so much. It's like, fine, I'm bored enough. Like it's a weeknight, and so I guess I'll just take a peek and see, what's on the apps. Is it going to be the same old people and the same old kind of BS?
Yeah.
So I'm not on and off, and because I have established a really great like social life here, I haven't put in as much effort as maybe I should. I'm just enjoying my life, but I do want a partner. So I do that every few months, kind of, all right, let's see what's out there, and go on these first dates. And my experience here is it's unique. I have meet a lot of what we call Peter Pan men. All these like Southern California surfer boys that never want to grow up, even though they're in their 50s
San
now.
Diego. Yep.
Yeah, even the successful ones are still, looking for the 25-year-old hottie to go out with. So I mean,
And they're
a lot
skateboarding.
Skateboarding.
Yeah, 49-year-old dude on skateboards.
Yeah.
That only happens in Southern
So
California.
attractive.
totally. So that, and then and this is probably a common experience for everybody that's ever done online dating, especially kind of serial over periods of, years. People misrepresent themselves so much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, their pictures aren't phenomenal online anyhow, or whatever the case may be. The first in-person impression has so often been, oh, you don't look at all like your pictures.
Yep.
You're, I'm going to be a little bit crass here, but like 50 pounds heavier, 10 years older, 6 inches shorter, whatever you want to
Oh yeah,
say.
or they smell. I
Well, you can't. In
I've-
fairness, though, you cannot depict how you smell on your profile.
For sure, but I have literally gone on dates with men where they look like their picture, they're as tall as they say they are, and I am hit by a wall of man smell that is clearly not compatible with my pheromones, and I am like, I must turn around and leave. I'm so sorry. I mean, like, I don't really do that. I sit down on the date, but I'm like, can we sit outside? But yeah, I totally get what you're saying.
And you start like burning some incense.
Yeah,
I don't know,
all of a
yeah,
sudden I'm
yeah.
pulling out my perfume. No, I'm sorry. So go ahead, Layla.
It's just, I mean, and it's not every single person that's like that, but often it's, it has to be a set of criteria that's met. And then on top of that, the chemistry has to be there. And that's super rare. It's very unique.
So
And
rare.
it's like, it's there or it's not. I mean, you can be tall, dark, and handsome, or, anything. You can you can check every single box, but if there's no chemistry, then there's really nowhere to go. And often too, I've had the experience where there's no chemistry for me, and I think it's pretty obvious, but it's clearly not. So then I get a lot of pressure for, continuing the relationship or more dates. And that's an interesting area to navigate.
How come?
When you're doing sympathy dates, you mean?
No, yeah. How come?
Well, not just sympathy dates, but people that are really straightforward. Like, I'm having a great time. I feel a great connection. What about you? Or do you want to do this again? Or we should totally hang out again. Or worse, they get handsy and gropey, or,
Yeah, yeah.
like on your throat or whatever. So, I mean, it's delicate, right? You don't want to be a jerk,
Right.
but you don't want to make out with this random smelly guy.
A random smelly guy who's 50 pounds and 15
Yeah,
years
yeah.
ago.
Ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've
how
had
did
some-
you get to the and how low did you go? I want to know, like, I know you said you dabbled where you're just like, oh, okay, let me just take a peek. And then the other times you're like, no, gonna be with my dog and my girlfriends, What would you say was like your low point? And then how did that redemption moment happen for you?
Great questions. I have had, like I've said, and lots of neutral or blah or meh dates, nothing, no fireworks, but I've definitely had some unpleasant experiences. And I think the compilation of the last probably 3 or 4 dates that I've had really it was just so disheartening. I was like, I put on makeup for this. I could have been home watching Netflix with my dog. No, yeah, just a series of like, it's not worth the effort. And if you want me to go into detail, I can, but really, it gets old.
Yeah. So the last couple of months have been that kind of bottom for you.
Yeah, just like but it's paradoxical because I do want to find a partner, and you have to put in the effort. I mean, I'm not going to meet someone sitting on my couch, obviously.
Yeah. So what happened?
So one of my very best girlfriends, who has also been single for a long time, and she does the same thing I do. She gets, anxious and gets on the apps, has bad experiences, gets off,
Yep.
hangs out with her dog and her girlfriends, and we travel a lot. So we have a good time, but she met somebody like in very cute story, not on the apps. And they just fell for each other head over heels. And there's a part of me, I'm so happy for her, but there's a little part of me that was just jealous. Like, I'm trying too, but I'm not trying hard enough. And she just kind of, seeing her go through this wonderful experience, it kind of reinvigorated my desire to also have that. And I really recognize I have to put myself out. So I just got back on Match and Hinge and just started saying yes. And connecting with people and started going on yet again a bunch, a bunch of one-off dates. I was more intentional this time though. Oftentimes I'll just like say yes and go meet someone because wasting time is wasting time.
Yeah.
So I thought of like talking on the phone for weeks at a time or anything like that. But yeah, it was one of those kind of serendipitous moments. I had a little note on my calendar to cancel match because I didn't want to renew and pay for another.
Quick question. How are you, you said you were more intentional. How are you more intentional? Like,
with communication, like
Not letting it drag on.
right. You were being
Yeah,
clear
but
what you wanted.
yeah, and having more dialogue and actually a couple phone conversations, not just like a couple quick texts and then hey, let's meet. And I think that that's been helpful just because I don't necessarily in the past I haven't necessarily taken the time to really get to know people even a little bit before meeting them. And so I experienced these disappointments. So yeah, I spent a little bit more time corresponding and communicating. And but still, I've done this so much that of course I'm prejudging.
Yeah, hard not to go into that.
Yeah. But I had
So,
this
yeah.
guy, and we were. He asked if I could, go get a drink, and I said yes. And I picked a day that worked, and then I didn't hear from him until that morning. And he's like, "Hey, does tonight still work?" And I said, "I already made plans because I didn't hear from you." And then for some reason, and I don't know why, I texted him back and I said, "I can have an early happy hour drink if you want to come to my neighborhood because I'm going to meet some friends afterwards." And he did. And we met and we had drinks, and it was immediately the second I walked in the room, I was like, "Oh, he looks so much better than his pictures." Yeah, like so much better. And I was
He
hesitant.
undersold on his profile.
I think so. Even now, I'm like, "Oh, you look so much better in real life." But there was a few things that I was already hesitant about, including like he's, lives a little bit out of my bubble, and he has kids at home still, and mine are grown. So that's, something I was a little more than a little hesitant about. But we just really clicked to the point where I had to go because I did have plans, and we left and went out to the parking lot, and he gave me a hug, and then we like didn't let go of each other. It was just, again, one of those moments that I haven't experienced in years, and we just kept hugging and kept saying how great it felt. And I canceled my plans, and we went back to the bar and sat hours, like scooted close to each other, and a wonderful conversation, immediate chemistry. And he's not like these guys that I've been encountering for so long that I'm expecting them to be a certain way. He's romantic and thoughtful and kind and not a Peter Pan. And one of the biggest hesitations that I had is that he has 4 kids, and 3 of them are still at home. And like I said, I have 2, but they're fully grown into adulthood. I started a little early. So they're living their own lives, and I'm doing this like full empty nest life that allows me to drop everything and jump on a plane and go to Europe with my friends, or we travel quite a bit. So it's interesting that he's in this very different phase of his life, and I know that there'll be hurdles. I've dated people with kids before, but we just have such a strong connection that it doesn't seem at this point like it's not a deal breaker like it normally would be for me.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. If you love Korean skincare but don't know what to buy or where to buy it from, then olali.com is your answer. Olali curates the best in Korean beauty products, from top shelf items to trending new arrivals to my favorite, hard to find indie K-beauty brands. Founded by sisters Sue and Hera, Olali is like getting a recommendation from a good friend who's tried it all and tells you exactly what to buy. I especially love the Double Rose Luminizer Facial Oil, which feels so good on my dry, reactive skin. And Daniel loved the Neogen Airy Sunscreen, which feels just like a light lotion on your face, but is packed with SPF 50. Get 10% off your first order with the code IHateDatingApps or use the link ololly.com/IHateDatingApps. Our sponsor, Take My Face Off, makes swiping off your makeup just as easy as swiping past a bad profile. Seriously, the MIDI from Take My Face Off is this adorable facial mitt that makes skin cleansing faster, easier, and more thorough than any other method I've tried. I seriously love this product. Next time you're tempted to grab a face wipe, use a MIDI instead. It's just as fast, but it's better for your skin and the planet. Get free shipping with the discount code DATING at takemyfaceoff.com.
Well, if you're having 4 kids,
Right.
you got a little bit of patience, right? You got to kind of not be selfish,
Well,
right?
and you can't be skateboarding if you have 4
You can't
kids.
be skateboarding.
You can't be a Peter Pan.
That's right. And you have to have a level of anticipation and thoughtfulness to be an attentive dad
But
to 4 kids.
I'm curious
So-
about something. So, can you pinpoint what the difference was? Because people talk about chemistry, and I think chemistry is just shorthand for, like
Je ne sais quoi.
yeah, je ne sais quoi, which is just like I don't know. Just you say anything in French, it sounds very very exotic.
sais quoi,
Yeah, je ne sais
c'est
quoi. So,
chemistry.
what you're saying is that you don't know.
We don't know.
What is what was the difference like when you like that immediate chemistry? What was the turn on? Because obviously you had talked over the phone a little bit, so you knew him a little bit, but compared to other dates that you went on and you didn't feel it, was it because he looked better than his pictures, or what? Like, can you pinpoint something that you made? So, oh wait, or immediately like you felt something.
We actually didn't talk on the phone. I had been being more intentional with communication with a series of people that I was chatting with, but we text quite a bit. You can't really pinpoint it. I walked into the room, I saw him leaning up against the wall, and I was like, it was an immediate, oh, thank God he.
Oh,
not
come on,
only-
Lila. He was just hot.
You were like, yes.
Yeah, let's just be. Come on, he was just hot.
Let's be honest. He was
Thank
hot.
God that's my date. Yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah.
Immediately, like, he's intellectually stimulating, and he straight up just said exactly what he wanted, probably within the first 30 minutes. Like, what he's looking for, what he wants. He asked me the best questions, like really thought-provoking stuff. He's super intentional. He knows what he wants. And
What
so
does he want?
I mean, he wants a long-term future with somebody. Like,
Nice. And how many weeks are you?
I'm embarrassed to say.
Don't be. Nobody's gonna hear this. It's just the
isn't-
four
this
of
isn't a
us. It's
podcast.
just the four of
Yeah.
us.
It's less than 2
Weeks?
weeks. Yeah.
Less than 2 weeks?
It's very fresh.
Oh,
It's very fresh,
love.
yeah.
I love it.
It's like
It's like a little puppy. It's like a brand new puppy.
Yeah.
It should be like this, though, in the beginning, Layla. It should be like just butterflies and then just like amazing. And then you hope to keep that going as long as possible. But we all know the beginning is the best. And then it kind of, starts degrading a little bit from there. And then people like Susan are able to somehow maintain it. And if we could just kind of like switch over to Susan a bit. Susan, tell us
Layla,
your
this is your
story.
future. Susan is your future. If it all
Susan
goes
is your
well.
future.
enough. The
I've
guy.
been told that I'm a lot of people's futures.
And interesting because Susan has 2 kids as well, and John has 3, right? Yeah.
Right.
Ooh, I see some parallels right here.
Same name and everything. All right, I want to hear your story because you have a wedding.
So Layla, I feel like if I still lived in San Diego, you and I would be great friends, and we would be
Yes.
walking on the park or on the beach together. I had a group of women that I walked with every Saturday morning, and what was really fun about the dating that I was doing is that became my platform. And they'd say, "What did you do this week? Or who did you see? What kind of dates did you go on?" And they would laugh with me. They would go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that," with me, all of that. So I think girlfriends in this process are really important to have because they will tell you what you need to hear if you're sounding a little off base. So while I was in San Diego, I thought that I'm going to just keep at this because I really do want to go out. I do really want to meet someone. But I started stepping away a little bit, not as much as when I first started was like, I got to find somebody. And then I thought, you know what? I'm having a great life. I'm finding my center again, out of a 20-year long bad marriage. And I didn't want to jump into a new one like that. I wanted to make sure I was intentional about the people I was looking for. And so I was at every date I would get a little bit more. No, that box has to be checked. It just can't not. I mean, I have to make sure that he does have the same kind of a spiritual background. He has the same kind of desire for travel that I do. I mean, there's just a lot of things that I was getting a little bit more concrete about that box. And then I was promoted and got an opportunity to move to Chicago, which really rocked me again because every new city is hard. So you moving into LA, Layla, I totally get it. It's like, how am I going to really get invested in this community if I don't have maybe a meetup group? I'm going to do it through, I guess I'm going to try these dating apps. Met a couple of people that were, okay, nice, but that there wasn't any chemistry. I would either hear them say something that truly made me go, what am I doing wasting my time? That is so off of what I'm looking for. I don't want that. I got better at saying, if someone said, I feel like we have chemistry, I'll say, you know what? I'm not feeling the same way. And I got more bold by just saying, I don't want to waste your time because I know that I'm probably not the person you're looking for because I know that you're probably not the one I'm looking for. So got better and better at that. It still was hard and it was depressing. Went out with a couple of guys. There was one story I'll tell you really quickly, very funny. He sent me hey, can we meet? This was in Chicago. And I said, he looked nice and everything. I said, sure. And I asked him like 5 questions. And he had originally said, let's meet on Friday. I asked him these 5 questions. He never answered those. So we just didn't go out. I ended up going out with a friend to the same place that we were going to go to. He shows up and he says to me, I know it's him. He walks up to me and he says, Karen? And I go, no. And then he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I'm meeting somebody by the name of Karen. I'm like, oh, this is his place. This is where he brings people, right?
Oh,
I met with my friend.
He's efficient.
This is the guy that I didn't go on a date with. So let's just watch it. So I watched him. I saw Karen come in. They meet. They sit down. And they have this whole conversation. They have a whole date with me sitting like 3 tables down. And then I went home and I just sent him a note saying, I'm hoping you had a great time with Karen. I happened to be one that you asked. And he said, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. And he said, you asked me too many questions. I just didn't want to answer all of them.
Right.
And he says, actually, I didn't have any fun with Karen. You would have been the one I would have liked to have gone on a date with. I'm like, well, you missed that one.
Oh my God.
But Karen didn't have any questions for him.
Yeah, Karen didn't have 5 questions.
What were the 5 questions, by the way?
I don't know. They were probably, do you like travel or what?
Oh, it was something like to understand. Yeah, to like let's
Suss them out.
let's learn a little bit more about you before we go out on
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right. So then now I'm getting an opportunity to move to San Francisco, which I did. And San Francisco is a really hard place to meet people.
Ooh, I bet.
And I decided, I'm going to get off most of the apps that I had not liked in the past anyways. And I thought, you know what, if I'm really going to find someone that is an equal to me in the kind of soul that I have, what I'm looking for in my future, I've got to narrow this down. So I stayed on Christian Mingle, and I think I stayed on Our Time because that was it was an older generation kind of app. And there's same guys on all these apps, just different pictures,
Wait, it's the same guys that were on Tinder are also on Christian Mingle?
I don't know. They probably are.
Maybe.
They probably are. But and one of the things that I always struggled with, I didn't want somebody at my age, because I was way into my 50s. I didn't want somebody that was not married, had never been married before,
Right.
because I thought there's got to be a problem with him. Then I didn't want a divorcee that had an angry ex-wife.
Right.
So that was again, and I'd never ever even considered a widow or a widower. And so when I was in San Francisco and I got on Christian Mingle, I this was in March of 2016 is when I met John, and he had sent me a note, and I looked at it and I go, widower, huh? And then I am it made me kind of sad because I'm like, oh, this person has lost someone. It makes me sad now.
Oh,
um, we all lose people, anyways. So I thought I'm gonna read up. What does he have to say? And he said, he's sitting right here. I just want you to know he came in about 15 minutes ago, so now he's sitting here
oh, listening to your whole story.
into this. But so when I read up what he was saying to me, he said, "Hey, I see that you work in healthcare. I'm in healthcare as well." So I thought, he's being intentional about how we might connect. Um, and he said, and you say that you're new to the area and I've been here for a long time. I could be that tour guide you're looking for.
Oh,
And then he asked me if the S in my code name was for Stephanie. And I thought that was an interesting question. And so I sent him a note back. This was a Thursday night. I sent him a note back and said, the S is not for Stephanie, it's Susan. And what do you do in healthcare? And something, there was just a little bit of an exchange. And I said, this has been one of my never to do, but I'm going to go ahead and give you my phone number because I
wow.
felt like there was something about his 3 pictures, because he's a very nice looking man. And there's something about what he had said in his profile and then what I had, the exchange that we had already have. So he called me the next day. It was a little bit before 1. I had a meeting to go. He goes, hey, Susan, this is John. And he said his last name. And I'm like, you're not supposed to say your last name. And he said, do you have time? I said, I'm running into a meeting in about 5 minutes. He goes, I have one as well. I just wanted to thank you for responding and to see if you'd be up for maybe getting together. And I was like, that was so nice. Thank you for responding. What a nice,
What a
considerate.
man. That's a man kind of thing to do. Dang.
It wasn't like I'm desperate. Thank you for somebody finally responding. It was just a really kind way of saying that. So I had plans that Friday night, and I actually had plans on Saturday night. And he said, what are you doing? I think he had plans on, it was that night too. He had plans on Friday night. And then I said, I have plans tomorrow night. But let me just see what I can do. So I called my friend and I said, hey, I have the opportunity of going out with a really nice looking guy tonight. And she said, oh, I would take the opportunity.
Oh,
So
that's a nice friend. Yeah.
we did. And we met here in Sausalito. We met down at Angelino's, and I got there early because I just wanted to make sure I was there on time and everything. And I was standing right by the door, and I was looking at the beautiful wet water in front. And I was like, it's such a pretty night. Even if the date doesn't go well, the night's already beautiful.
Aw.
But he came around the corner and he was just a few minutes late, and he was rushing and he said, Susan. And I said, hi, John. And I went to kind of shake his hand. He goes, no, I'm a hugger. And he gave me this hug, and he was soft and sweet and kind. And he was not tall. I mean, he wasn't short at all, but he was the right size for me. I'm like, oh. And so Layla, when you said it just felt good, I was like, yeah, I could just stand right here. We don't
Aw.
have to. And then he held the door, and he was nice to the maitre d', and we got sat down, and he was so kind to the waiter. And I'm just like, this man knows how to be he's just a kind spirit. And to me, you asked what chemistry was. That to me is that I was like, soul connection. It wasn't just that he was good looking and he was nice. There was something about his soul that was really present sitting there. And we shared a bottle of wine. I asked him what, tell me about yourself. And within 10 minutes, he's already crying. He was talking about his late wife. And my heart gets soft for him because he lost a woman that he was with for 35 years.
Oof.
And that's a long time to be with someone. And
Yeah.
I want 35 years. I wanted 35 years from my first marriage. That didn't work, but now that's what I was looking for. And I thought if he was capable of being in love with someone for 35 years, then maybe he would be capable for loving me. And we
Oh,
just had an awesome conversation. It was just a beautiful conversation. And 10 minutes in, I said in my head, this is the guy I've been waiting
Within 10 minutes.
within
for.
10 minutes.
And how long have you guys been married now?
We've been married almost, well, 7.5 years. So
So you got another 28 to go.
Yep.
Good
Yep.
for you.
28 to go to make my goal.
Yeah.
He asked me, well, I made sure he got in front of all of my friends. He has a huge community of friends around him. He introduced me to everybody. They all gave the thumbs up with me, my friends thumbs up. And within 2 months, he had asked me to marry him. And within 6 months of the time that we met, we were married.
I
And
re-
Gina was at my wedding.
yes, I
And
was. Yes, I was.
And you guys met on Christian Mingle?
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you about to suggest that I get on Christian Mingle?
No, not for you.
I know, not for me.
No, but I think, I mean, the beautiful thing about that story is that, take Christian Mingle, take the dating app out of the equation, but that's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Right.
That's exactly what it's supposed to be. That's how
Yeah.
it's supposed to happen.
Random people who would have never met otherwise, bring them together. But I specifically remember, I don't know whether you and I already had a chat scheduled or what, but
we did.
we did, right? And then I remember her going, wait, before we talk about anything else, I met the man of my dreams. I
Yes.
remember that conversation and me going, wait, what happened? And you were just like, oh my
I think
God.
she said, hold on, Susan, tell me.
I know. I was just like,
slow down.
meeting agenda stopped. We're going to talk about this instead. And the excitement that you had. And then I went to Susan's wedding. And this woman, when you are so in love with somebody and at the wedding, like every pore in your body is like indicating how much you love this person. That was Susan. And that was John as well. I mean, John was very manly and gentlemanly and handsome and, like the groom that he should be. Susan was this blushing bride, and she was just like, I'm Cinderella. I'm Cinderella, and here's my Prince Charming. And you give me so much hope, Susan, that'll also happen for me, especially because you toiled and labored for 10 years on the apps. So if anybody deserves it, it's you. And of course, it just makes me super stoked that she actually met him on an app and she didn't
To
tell
me,
me.
I mean,
that it was-
obviously, you've known her, you've been friends, and you were at her wedding. But for somebody who just met you, to hear you talk about, John, and he's right there, and the way you choke up and when you talk about him, it's like, that's
After
it.
7.5
Yeah.
years
No,
of
but
putting
it's-
up with his
no,
bullshit.
It's
Just kidding.
it's not. It's not always. I mean,
Just kidding.
I know people. I have friends who've been, and I won't name names, who've been married for 10, 15 years, and I'll be surprised if it goes another 2.
Yeah.
But in your case, 7.5 years. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you guys went in for another 28. Seriously, just because of the way you talk about it, And it really is that connection that people talk, the chemistry that you Leila was like. It starts with that chemistry, but I'm a real believer that the infatuation, the chemistry, it's the spark. But to keep the fire going, that's dedication, that's the work, right? But obviously, you can't start the fire without the spark. You need the chemistry. But it's like
Right.
the proof is in the pudding. The fact that you've been married now for 7.5 years and you have that connection, and I love the fact that you guys met in Christian Mingle, because not that it's a solution necessarily, but I do think that the things that my parents were telling me, when I was growing up, like and I thought it was just old school thoughts, like compatibility, because they wouldn't talk. I grew up watching, rom-com, and I thought it had to be like, it had to be beautiful, and it had to be perfect, and they were always talking about practical stuff, like you have to be compatible, and having compatible like religions and spirituality and values, that's huge. Actually.
Yeah.
It's really
I don't
big.
think you could be with somebody who didn't share those
Yeah,
values, right,
it's true.
Susan? Like
Yeah.
they're so integral to you.
Yeah.
They are, and they're really integral to
Right.
John, and so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're very well matched that way. And just a little side note: 3 years ago, John was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and about 6 months after that time, I found out we found a mole, and I had melanoma, and it made me look back at how our lives had connected on purpose, and that we're going to be each other's soulmates and helpmates for the rest of our lives, and we needed each other more than we even actually knew it. That we have now that we have that a little bit behind us, that's one reason why we both have just retired, so we can spend more time together and with our kids and our grandkids. And life is good. There is hope out there for many people if they just kind of zero in. It's what is it you're really, really looking for? Hold
That's
true to
key.
those very key things, those factors that are important to you. And I am proof to say that there's a guy out there for you. There's a woman out there for you. If that's what you're looking for, you'll find them.
Oh my goodness. Well, so I do want to get to that. Thank you, first of all, both of you, for your stories, which makes this gal, feel like there is a light at the end of this tunnel. But would you please, for the people that are listening and, fighting the good fight out there, give us your take on your best advice for them, each of you?
I would say not to be in a desperate hurry. Take time for yourself. One of the things I didn't say is John had reached out to me in August the year before, and I didn't even see it because I had decided I'm gonna take care of myself. It's all about, if I'm gonna be a healthy in a healthy dating relationship, I have to be healthy myself. I have to take care of the person that I am. So I just stepped away, but I didn't realize that he had sent me that note. And when that night, he said, I sent you something. And you did? I didn't realize that. And he has since said I was worth the wait. Right. So he tried.
Aw.
But I would say, really work on yourself, and know what you want out of life. And I think the dating apps are helpful because they do have all of the information about, it is like somewhat like buying the right car. You don't want some of these features that you don't need. So why waste your time on those features if somebody thinks these are the best things about me, and those are things that are not even of value to you? Don't waste your time. Yeah.
Hmm.
I guess that's my best advice, I guess.
The way that you described you're sort of working your way through really narrowing down, like you need all these boxes checked, and you're not compromising. That's great. I think in my experience, I don't know. I guess my advice is similar to yours, because I left this relationship and my kids were grown, and suddenly I was an empty nester, and there was COVID. So I just kept waiting to feel desperate and lonely, and it didn't happen, and it's still not happening. But a few years have gone by now, and I just keep thinking I'm going to get desperate and lonely. My friends are out there just like desperately settling for whoever, I want a husband so bad, and that kind of thing. And it wasn't as intentional as what you just described, but I really have taken the last few years to kind of figure it out. I mean, in my whole life, I've been, in a relationship with kids. I've always had, someone in the house. I grew up with my parents. I moved out. I got married, kids. Like, I'm really having the opportunity to find myself and not feeling that major desperation. But I would emphasize, like I said before, really putting yourself out there is important, because you have to take some risks, obviously. I think it's very cliche, but true. Like, I've kissed a lot of frogs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's part of the process. I'm
Or
sorry.
avoided for some of them. But I think I would say absolutely agree with focusing on yourself. The desperation thing typically does not result in a long-term happy relationship.
No. And people sense it.
Yeah.
Your date senses it.
I think something that Susan said and Leila said this as well, and I think it's really important because we're talking about dating apps and the digital age. The box checking, I think this is an important distinction, because the boxes that Susan was checking, right? I mean, look, you're attracted to who you're attracted to, right? I mean, there's a physical type, and we all are attracted to different physical attributes. and that's one of the boxes. But the more important box is really the compatibility and the intentionality of what you're looking for, right? Because I think the problem with dating apps often is you're not looking for someone who makes you feel a certain way. It's less about how it makes you feel and more about how it makes you look, because we live in such a superficial world, because men or women, like a lot of men, to use stereotypes, looking for the trophy wife. Like, what woman complements the lifestyle that I'm looking for? She has to be, she has to look a certain way, or for a woman, like, he has to drive a certain type of car. And we're talking about LA and San Francisco, like in big cities, right? And those are the boxes that people are checking.
Yeah,
and
such superficial boxes.
Yeah, and I am as superficial as the next guy, true. But I think in order to get to that intentional relationship, the boxes that you want to check, it really is the compatibility, the chemistry, not so much like all the superficial boxes that everybody in dating apps, that's what you're looking for on your, on the profiles. And that's why I think it's really interesting. I mean, not Christian Mingle for everybody, but farmersonly.com, whatever it is, whatever it is that you're looking for, the person who is in your universe, who is compatible, who's gonna, and everybody's got different things that they're looking for. But it really is about searching what you're looking for. Be intentional in what you're looking for. And another thing that Susan said I think is really important is you're not ready to go and find that unless you know who you are. So you have to work on yourself first.
Yes, but I also like, Layla's story, because I think it wasn't her intention to meet a guy who had 4 kids.
Right.
And had she really stuck to her boxes, she wouldn't have met this wonderful person.
Right.
So I think I would piggyback on that and say, yes, know what your boxes are, be intentional about it, but also allow everybody some grace to show up. Because that person who doesn't float your boat from the get-go might just end up being the one who starts a new box for you.
Right. Or who floats your boat. Like, so she has the boxes, but again, the 4 kids and stuff, I would argue to a certain extent is a superficial box. And yes, there's logistics, you have to take into consideration geography, but how she canceled her plans with her friends, right?
Because she felt it.
Right. Because that was the most important box to check.
That's right.
Yeah.
The chemistry and knowing. Well, you guys have such wonderful stories, and I know, Layla, you're just starting out, but we wish you the best. I mean, seeing as how similar you are to Susan, I kind of see that path happening for you. But thank you for joining us, and this has been a really, really great episode.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is wonderful. Very, very encouraging.
Yeah, all of our listeners and viewers need some encouragement, so that was great. Love you, Susan. Thank you very much, Layla.
Thank you, guys.
And this has been another great episode of I Hate Dating Apps. You can't love with them.
And you can love without them.
Till next time.
I hate dating apps.
Hey, app daters and haters, tell us your dating app experience, and we just might bring you on as a guest for future episodes. Head to ihatedatingapps.com and click on the big yellow Tell Us Your Story button. You can't miss it. We've got a lot of fun content on our social channels, so please follow us at I Hate Dating Apps on Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And on Instagram, we're at I Hate Dating Apps Pod. And don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast.